the silence between gunshots. Samuel Knox arrives in Briar Creek at dusk, dust-coated and quiet. He walks straight to the sheriff's office and places his revolver on the desk, not as surrender, but as a promise. The town doesn't trust him, but they're tired of blood. When he accepts the marshal's badge, he vows never to fire unless there is no other choice. Margaret Hale watches from across the street. She's seen men like him brought into her father's clinic, bleeding, claiming change. She believes in medicine, not miracles. Margaret assists her father, tending to ranch hands and barroom brawlers. Violence, she knows, always arrives first and leaves women to clean up after. When Samuel brings in a drunken troublemaker without drawing his gun, she notices. When he thanks her quietly after she stitches his knuckles, she listens. Still, she keeps her distance. Men with pasts always leave scars behind. Samuel posts new rules in town. No weapons inside the saloon. No duels, no second chances for those who break the peace. Some laugh. Others bristle. Margaret tells him he's asking too much of men who've lived by the gun. He replies, then they'll have to learn a new language. She doesn't smile, but something in her softens. A ranch feud explodes into the street. Guns are raised. Samuel steps between them, unarmed. His voice is steady. For a long moment, the town holds its breath. The guns lower. That night, Margaret finds her hands trembling. Not from fear, but from realizing she believed in him. Whispers spread. Samuel Knox once rode with outlaws. He once killed a man in cold blood. Margaret confronts him in the clinic, anger, sharp and personal. He doesn't deny it. He only says, I remember every face. That's why I won't add another. She doesn't forgive him, but she doesn't walk away. They begin sharing quiet moments. Coffee after long days, slow walks at dusk. Samuel speaks little. Margaret fills the silence with questions she never asks aloud. One evening, he admits he fears peace more than gunfire, because peace gives him something to lose. Margaret realizes she does too. 3 men arrive at Briar Creek. They recognize Samuel immediately. They expect the old marshal to fast draw, the deadly aim. Instead, Samuel bars the jail door and stands his ground without reaching for his gun. Margaret watches from the clinic window, heart pounding. Words replace bullets. Pride replaces violence. But not everyone is ready to let the past go. A shot rings out, fired by another hand. Chaos erupts. Samuel is wounded protecting a stranger. Margaret runs into the street without thinking, pressing her hands against his bleeding side. He survives. The town changes. Margaret realizes love isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. Briar Creek grows quieter. Not perfect, but gentler. Samuel walks the streets, unarmed now. Children wave. Men nod. Margaret and Samuel speak of futures carefully, like something fragile. He tells her he never imagined staying anywhere. She replies, neither did I. At dawn, Samuel returns his badge, not because he failed, but because the town no longer needs him to stand alone. He and Margaret leave Briar Creek together, not running, not hiding, just walking into a life built on choice, restraint, and trust. The land is still wild, but between the gunshots, something new has taken root. Samuel and Margaret settle in a small river town where no one knows his name. Samuel builds fences and fixes roofs. Margaret assists a midwife and tends herbs behind their rented house. Their love lives in small gestures, shared meals, lingering glances, hands brushing in lamplight. For the first time, neither is waiting for violence to arrive. Evenings are long and unhurried. Margaret learns when Samuel's quiet means peace and when it means memory. Samuel learns the way. Margaret hums when she's content. How she steadies herself by touching his wrist when words fail. They speak less, but understand more. Love becomes a language spoken softly. One evening by the river, Samuel confesses he once believed love was a weakness men paid for in blood. Margaret answers by placing his hand over her heart and telling him, strength is choosing tenderness every day. There is no ring, no witness, only a promise exchanged as the sun sinks low. It is enough. Seasons turn. The town trusts them. Margaret opens a small clinic of her own. Samuel teaches boys how to ride without teaching them how to fight. Sometimes danger passes nearby, but it never enters their home. They have learned how to stand without bracing for impact. Years later, they still wake before dawn, still share coffee in silence. Samuel no longer dreams of gunfire. Margaret no longer flinches at raised voices. Their love is not loud or legendary. It is steady. It is chosen. It is the life that exists quietly between the gunshots. The morning is quiet, in a way that once would have frightened them. Mist rises from the river as Margaret steps onto the porch. Shawl drawn close, the world still half asleep. Samuel is already awake, mending a loose rail along the fence. He looks up when he hears her. The same way he always does, like he is choosing her all over again. They do not speak at first. They never need to. This land knows their footsteps now. The house bears the shape of their days. A chair pulled close to the hearth. Dried herbs hanging near the door. A rifle stored high and untouched. The past still exists, but it no longer knocks loudly. It has learned to wait outside. Samuel joins her with 2 tin cups of coffee. Their shoulders touch. The contact is small, steady, real. Once, he measured his worth by how fast he could draw a gun. Now, he measures it by how gently he holds her hand. Margaret watches the light creep across the fields and thinks of all the wounds she once believed love could not heal. She knows better now. Love did not erase the scars, taught them how to live alongside them. When the world gets loud again, she says softly, we'll stay right here. Samuel nods. I don't need to outrun anything anymore. A breeze moves through the grass. Somewhere far off, a sound echoes indistinct, harmless, fading. Samuel does not tense. Margaret does not flinch. They remain grounded, in the quiet they built together. As the sun rises fully, Samuel presses a kiss to her temple, gentle, unhurried, certain. In a land once ruled by gunfire, they have claimed something braver than survival. They have chosen peace. Like and subscribe. Aurora Tale Wild West. God bless.